Yes, hello and welcome to the 300th time I've said welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason, and for this milestone, where I've racked up an average of just over one video per week in 5.5 years, I'm going to be revisiting my earliest Restomod casting. This Matchbox 75B Ferrari Berlinetta was kindly sent over to me by JC Hayes, so my thanks to him for making this video possible. When I resto-modded this model in my 10th ever video in 2019, I gave it a few little hints of added detail over the factory offering, as well as painting it the rarer red colour. So as I dismantle the casting and intersperse footage from my previous build, I will give you a rundown of the history of the model and the real car it is based on. The Lesney Matchbox Ferrari Berlinetta arrived at number 75B in the 1-75 series in 1965. It replaced the then 5-year-old Ford Thunderbird. While the new casting was a bit of an oddity by having no opening features or enhancements, it was a beautiful recreation of Ferrari's 250 GT Lusso. Initially, the model was painted red, but this was a fleeting glimpse, so much so that it could have been a pre-production sample. The bulk of regular wheels era cars had metallic green paint, with the first versions receiving a grey painted base plate and wire wheels. For my paint strip, I rather foolishly forgot to press the record button. But inset is actually my first ever use of caustic soda in that older video. The painted bases of earlier production examples quickly gave way to silver-plated ones. Uglier chrome hubs would then replace the much prettier wire wheels. A casting variation appeared during this time with cowled headlights introduced. The final regular wheels era release was actually in red once again, as the transitional Superfast model now featured a red painted body. These are sought after, but not as much as the earlier wire-wheeled bestowed red cars. All models had ivory-coloured interiors featuring a tow hook, and had varying levels of trim applied to the grille and headlights. Both the tow hook and trim were omitted from production Superfast 75Bs on their introduction in 1970, though some oddities did appear with trim applied. As a transitional model, green bodies can be found attached to Superfast bases. The base plate was further modified to accommodate the new low friction wheels and suitability for play tracks by removing the quad exhaust from below the rear bumper. The 75B would make way for its Italian stablemate, the Alfa Carabo concept car at 75C for 1971. That's yet another casting that I've previously worked on. The casting states Ferrari Berlinetta on the base, and to give the real car its full name, it should be the Ferrari 250 GT Berlinetta Lusso. Occasionally known as the GTL, the Lusso was built between 1962 and 1964 to a quantity of 351 vehicles. It replaced the 250 GT Coupe and continued to be designed by Pininfarina, in keeping with Ferrari tradition of the time. It debuted at the Paris Motor Show of 1962, and it was to be the final model of Ferrari's highly successful 250 GT series. Unlike many of its predecessors though, it was not designed for use in competition. Instead, it was aimed at customers looking for a grand tourer that could be driven daily while still embodying that Ferrari spirit. This focus on luxury and usability set the Lusso apart in Ferrari's lineup at the time. While Pininfarina designed the car, it was built by Carrozzeria Scaglietti, famed for their precision and craftsmanship. The design is characterised by its smooth, flowing lines and balanced proportions. It simultaneously looks elegant and aggressive. The simple grille is flanked by two modest chrome bumpers. The long hood and short rear are hallmarks of classic GT car design. Inside the two-seat coupe is a luxury interior. It has an uncluttered dashboard featuring a large speed and tachometer in front of the driver. It is upholstered in high-quality leather opposite a wooden steering wheel. The Lusso is powered by Ferrari's 3-litre V12 Tipo 168 engine, which produces 240 horsepower. It is equipped with 3 Weber carburetors and can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7 seconds. Its top speed was around 150 miles per hour. Its handling was enhanced by independent front suspension with a live rear axle, and it featured disc brakes all round. With 351 examples of the Lusso, it is one of the rarer Ferraris, more so because of their individuality due to their coach-built nature. No two Lussos were exactly alike. A result of this is that the 250 GT Lusso is one of the most sought-after classic Ferraris. They command high prices at auction when they come up for sale. Now, in my previous 75B video, I didn't show the extra trim detailing I added over the factory model. I saved it for the grand reveal at the video end. Back then, I opted to paint in the headlights as usual, then the inset lamps, bumpers and hood scoop with silver. The grille I painted black and picked out the prancing horse, again in silver. I painted the door pillars in silver as well, but not the entire window surround as I'm doing here. This time I've also drawn in the front and rear screen surrounds too. I picked out the door handles, while at the back I painted the orange and red of the tail lights, the black base of the registration plate, and then the silver lettering. I'm going a bit further at the back with a dab of chrome for the keyhole, and eventually a silver surround for the plate as well. I hand painted the trim using Tamiya acrylics previously, but I've since swapped my technique for a chrome base and Sharpie markers over the top for the rear lighting. Last time I simply cut off the tow hook, but I decided that the hole that was left by the absent hook required filling. That meant epoxy putty was not only needed on the base where the bumper had a gap, but the body also, where a tiny slot allowed that plastic hook to peek through. I did nothing to the interior previously, but on this occasion I've painted it black and given it a wooden steering wheel, with chrome trim and a yellow badge in the centre. Now smoothed off, to conceal that dried putty, I coat the bumper in Molotow chrome. Earlier I missed the base for the orange lights found on the front wing. This is something I neglected on the original Restomod. Then the orange Sharpie is applied over the top of the chrome bases for the turn signals. And then red is used for the brake lights. Using my Artistro silver paint pen, I gently glide over the top of the raised lettering on the registration plate, depositing tiny quantities of paint as I went. I was quite impressed with the end result. I'm happy with that. Then it's time for Citadel Gloss Nuln Oil, which I choose to use to give a realistic depth to the lighting. I'm also loving the effect it's having on the grille, filling in the recesses while keeping the chrome hatching exposed. I think it looks far more effective and realistic than the block black paint method I employed 5 years ago. I've printed a tiny Ferrari badge onto decal paper to apply to the nose of the car. There is a cast raised ridge located here, which made it quite tricky to set in place properly. Once it was there though, it came out looking good. For all my decals, I set them in place with Mr. Mark Softer decal setting solution. I have used my regular high coat clear lacquer for the top coat for the interior, but since it's a milestone episode, I've chosen to slightly change my ways for the body clear coat. I've found that high coat has been leaving more of a semi-gloss finish lately. So this is Mr. Hobby Top Coat Gloss, and it produces a great shiny finish. I wonder if high coat have changed their constituents slightly recently. I get through a heap of their clear lacquer and it is very cost effective, but I've just not been as satisfied with the finishes on recent castings. But now I'm reassembling all of the parts that make up the Berlinetta. That suspension piece wasn't keen to fit as it should, but we get there eventually. On goes the polished and chromed base plate, which I connect using a pair of 3mm M2 screws. A quick shout out here to JC Hayes for sending over this casting and making this video possible. Here was the Matchbox 75B Ferrari Berlinetta as he sent it over to me. Missing a tyre and very grubby, it was far from the best example of one of Lesney's most iconic castings. It is so iconic in fact that it and the 1G Dodge Challenger feature on a sculpture at the site of Lesney's factory in London, representing models that were first and last produced on the site between 1969 and 1982. So let's see my new and improved Restomod. First and foremost, it has all 4 tyres back on those glorious wire wheels, which have tidied up a treat. It's been painted in Tamiya TS8 Italian red, the same as my original Restomod from back when I first started. This time though, I've handed it more trim, mainly to the window surrounds, but I've also paid a lot of attention to the rear. I've taken away that wholly unnecessary tow hook and filled the gap it left behind. This time around, I've painted the interior a period black, which works nicely against the red. At the front, the grille looks a lot better than my previous efforts by combining Molotow chrome with a whole load of Citadel gloss. This really enhanced the appearance of the grille mesh and the prancing horse. I also dropped in the yellow Ferrari badge decal. Let me know what you think of my 300th effort below, but all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.